This is a quick overview of the BikePed portal push button dashboard. So navigate to bikeped.trek.pdx.edu/push button. That will open up a map view showing all of the ODOT stations that are providing us with push button data. By default, they're clustered. You can zoom all the way in, choose a specific intersection. You can also just pick a cluster, and over here on the right, you'll get a view of all the stations within that cluster. If you click on the eye icon over here, it gives you more details. The number that you see here refers to the health of the data, which refers to how much data is available for that station. So if you click on that number, it'll show the percentage of how much data we have received from that station compared against how much data we would have expected to receive. So as a user, you can decide what level of data health you require for the analysis that you're doing. Up here under station health, there's a slider where you can set the levels to what you consider to be good data, acceptable data, or bad data. And you'll notice when you do that and you update the map, the colors under each cluster will change. And the color of the bar underneath each cluster is showing the average health of the stations within that cluster. So now if you go back over here and select a cluster and you click on the number now, the dotted lines here correspond to the scale that you've set up. Okay, so let's say you've decided you want to analyze certain stations and you know which ones you want to include in your analysis. You can select them, basically pick the ones that you want. They'll populate over here on the right in the stations view. So let's say these are the 4 stations I want to look at for what I'm doing right now. And you can also choose the time period that you want to examine. When you've chosen the stations you want, then you go up here and click Analyze. And that brings up a new view at the bottom, which you can drag to however much you want to see. So this analysis view has 3 tabs: a 2 quantity chart, a 1 quantity historic comparison, and the metadata. So the 2 quantity chart lets you compare 2 metrics at the same time. So for the 4 stations that you've selected, you can choose the total volume for anyone who used that crosswalk or the average volume across your stations. You can also choose if you want to look at the data for all the phases of that intersection or if you want to choose a specific phase. You can select how you want it to display also as a line chart, column chart, area chart, or scatter chart. So if we were to compare total volume of all crosswalk users against data availability, you can choose where you want your y-axis to be on the left or the right. So let's say you wanted to look at a week. You could do March 3rd through the 7th. You can specify a time range. For instance, if you're only interested in peak commute times, or if you only want to look at, let's say, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m., you can also exclude or include certain days of the week. And you can look at that by the hour or by the day. So you press reload. By default, it averages our selected stations. If you want to see them separately, you can just click Ungroup Stations and then reload again. So as you can see here, for example, we didn't receive any observations through this whole period of time. But the data availability tells you that the controllers were working. So you know that probably no one pushed the button for this whole period of time. And you can highlight a portion to zoom in on. If you click and drag the segment that you want to zoom in on, it will show it expanded here. If you click on this hamburger menu here, you can download the data in different formats. You can download your chart as an image, or you can download the data. And on the 1 quantity historic comparison, you're just comparing 1 quantity across time periods. So it works much the same. By default, 2 time periods are enabled. If you did want to add a 3rd, you can do that. So here you can see each of the time periods that you selected is shown as a line of a different color. And the metadata panel just shows all of the metadata for the stations. And if you want to look at certain groups, you can filter by them over here. For instance, if I wanted to look at all of the stations for Astoria, I could display them over here and it will show you. You can also filter the map to show only the stations within that group. So now it's just showing the stations in Astoria. Or let's say I wanted to just clear that out, filter by data availability. Let's check for which stations have bad data. Again, that's according to what you've defined as bad data. So I can filter the map here, and it'll just show me the stations where I'm not getting good data if I were, for instance, wanting to investigate which stations might need attention. You can also search over here, and it will filter that table for you. And again, you can export this table, you can copy it, print it. You can also select stations from here and add them to your data analysis that you've got going. So as you can see, there's a lot of functionality, a lot of flexibility, and our team is still adding features. So as a user, you can always contact us if there's a functionality you want to see here that is not here. If you do have questions about any of this, you can email us at bikepedportal.pdx.edu. Thanks for watching.